The Montana residents who spotted that Chinese spy flight speaking out as Navy divers are now down in South Carolina. They're working to recover the debris from where it was shot down.
Meanwhile, the White House responding to criticism claiming spy flights flew over undetected while President Trump was in office, including at least one over Florida and Texas. So they were undetected then, Brian, but now they've, in retrospect,
exactly. I was looking back at old tapes.
Yes.
Florida GOP Congressman Brian Mast sits on the Foreign Relations Committee and joins us now. Congressman, you would have been there at the time when the undetected balloons were flying over undetected, and now they're detected. Do you believe that the Trump reference is relevant here or accurate?
Look, if President Trump says that this didn't take place, then I'm going to believe the president in that. I think the bigger question in this is, what is America doing to pay attention to the Chinese spying apparatus, human intelligence, geospatial intelligence, signals intelligence, buying up farmland outside of military bases, buying up ports in places like the Bahamas and on either side of the Panama Canal, what they're doing with TikTok. It is a very specifically designed spying apparatus with the purpose of making China stronger, gathering intelligence on America, and ultimately making America weaker. All of it plays into that.
I mean, Congressman, it's interesting because we're trying to figure out if this really did happen under the Trump administration. John Bolton says it didn't under his tenure. John Ratcliffe, who was the former director of National Intel, he says he's refuting it. So does Mark Esper, the former Secretary of Defense. Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, and Donald Trump himself is saying this didn't happen under our watch. Now, the officials are saying it was logged, but it was never reported to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the defense secretary, or the president because they were relatively minor territorial incursions. Does that make sense to you? Why wouldn't they notify the president if one of these, what are we calling it, this China spy flight, if that was flying in the air? Shouldn't they be notified?
That certainly doesn't add up to me. Here's why that is a big deal under any administration. So we're familiar with the idea that satellites can gather information. I think we're probably also familiar with the idea that a balloon is traveling much slower than a satellite, and it's in a much lower orbit than a satellite. The point of all this is that it takes clearer images than what you're going to get out of a satellite spy capability. That's why that matters. That's why it matters for it to be going over the bulk of the United States of America. How clear are those images that they're getting of military bases versus what they were getting out of a satellite? Can they tell exactly where an aircraft is being parked underneath an area of dirt where they couldn't tell that with a satellite? What can they see with those things?
Brian, do you buy the rationale from the Pentagon that it was a safety issue to shoot it down over land and we had to wait until it was off the coast of South Carolina?
Absolutely not. The only narrative that I would buy on this, it wasn't safety at all. The only reason that the administration started to care about it was because the American people heard about it.
Exactly.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken, he was going to go to China regardless of what they were doing with TikTok and buying up land and stealing intellectual property and other things. He was going to go to China regardless. He only canceled his trip because the American people found out about the balloon. If nobody knew about it, he'd still be on a jetliner on his way over.
We got one coming up from Central America. What are we going to do about it? Got to answer those questions. Number two, they were still steering it. So for a week, the Chinese were still steering this balloon. They didn't make an effort to turn around and bring it back. They just kept going as if to daring us to shoot it down, which we eventually did. How do you explain that?
It's a difference in the way that we look at national security for the United States of America. This could have been bipartisan. It could have been a call to Beijing saying, hey, we're tracking your balloon headed our way. We're looking forward to having something similar to a tailgating party here in the United States of America. As soon as that thing crosses our airspace, every American is going to celebrate that we shoot that thing out of the sky. Just want to let you know, thanks for giving us some target practice. Instead, this became a situation of argument and everybody wondering, what in the world is this administration doing? Why are they not looking out for America number one?
Well, get some answers, Congressman. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
And when it crossed into Alaska, once it went off the coast of Alaska over the waters, we could have shot it down within 12 miles off the coast of Alaska before it got into international territory. Thank you so much, Congressman, for being on with us.
Thank you.